it's by this guy called Andrew Tate, and it's called Let's Not Meet. And it's based off of like Reddit submissions, and they're basically stories about like people meeting people that they'd rather not meet again. And I listened to this like obsessively, so I thought we should like collect our own little like collection of like creepy stories of things that you're like, that's so like unsettling, I can't believe that really happened. So do you want to go with your story first?
It's like hot wings, but I would have eaten like order of spiciness, so this is like a mild story. But last summer I was in China, first with family and then part of it on my own. So I booked this like really sketchy hotel, like right next to the airport, but also in like the middle of like farmlands, which is really weird. The guy who was driving me was like a friend of my parents' friends, so he was like, I had no idea who he was. We were just driving through these like dark fields, and then we had turned into this like ditch. We go down and there's just this like one solitary building, and it's like the hotel, and I'm like, okay, I'm like it's fine, I'm just here for a night before I go to the airport. And then I walk in, and like the front lobby seems fine, and then the people are normal, and then I walk to the back, and the entire back half of the hotel is like not even built. Like there's no like back wall, and the elevator has like wooden planks on it, and I'm on the 3rd floor, so I have to take the elevator because the stairs aren't built. Fine, I get to the room and it's like very bare, but I'm like, well, I have a bed and a shower and a sink. And then I go into the restroom, I'm showering, and then I hear these like thumping noises outside my room, and I'm like, huh, but I'm like, maybe that's like the AC or something. And then I walk out and the lights are all off, and this isn't one of those like fancy hotels where you can like clap or it's like motion sensors. The key is not even like a key card, it's like an actual key. So I'm like, I don't think anyone would be able to come in. Yeah, I don't know, that just freaked me out. And then throughout the night I heard thumping noises, but I don't know if that was construction. So that was my scary story because I thought I was gonna die, but I made it and I'm here now. We have a friend, and we're gonna call her Kay. Stories about a guy on Tinder who she didn't match with because she swiped left, but he managed to find her on Instagram. He asked her to give him a chance and said he was a really good guy with lots to give. So because she's like the nicest person, she says yes, and they go on this picnic date at Foothills, which is like
It's like a preserve, an open space preserve.
Yeah. And he brings Thai food. She said that it was like fine, nothing special happened, and it was like a very like friend zone vibe. And also he doesn't laugh at her jokes, so it's kind of awkward between them. Afterwards, he's still texting her and asks when they're gonna hang out, and she says that she's not interested in him in that way, and she like initially swiped left for a reason. Even though she says that, he keeps calling her, saying that he wants to hear it from her directly instead of like text, and then she keeps declining. So that's fun.
Amping up the spiciness. This one is like a little bit like more creepy. I have a friend, I'll call her M. So she said that one time she was with a friend and they were walking around late at night on like a main boulevard, so like not a sketchy place, and there was a lot of traffic, and these 3 cars like come into like the lane like closest to them while they're like walking on the side of the street, and one of the guys rolls down his window and he's wearing a mask, which is like already really creepy, but it's like one of those masks from like the Purge where it has like the X's like with the eyes and it's like glow up and stuff, and he doesn't say anything, he just like beckons at them to like come over, and it's like in the summer, so it's like nowhere near Halloween or anything, and they just got like really scared and like ran away. So like nothing actually ended up happening, but like I would still be very scared if I saw that. Okay, I guess the least creepy one is kind of like low-key like conspiracy theory, but over the summer, me and like 4 or 5 of my high school friends went backpacking in the Italian Alps. It was like not a very well-established like route or anything, and then on the way back we went through this town called Corona. I legitimately think it was like a government experiment city or something, because we got there and there was like no one in the town at all, and the water was this like very bizarre shade of like very green. It was like emerald green. We were very hungry at this point because we had like hiked down from the mountains, and this was the first time we saw. So we go into like the nearest grocery store and like we just push open the door, but no one's in there. Like the door opens, no one's in there, the lights are off, there's like little wooden like box of like milk just sitting out, and we're like, this is literally like straight out of like a TV show, and it was very freaky. We also ran across this like abandoned children's like amusement park kind of thing.
That reminds me of, have you watched Spirited Away?
Yes, that's like literally the vibe.
Oh man, it gives me chills.
Especially just like the milk just sitting out there, because I was like, is someone gonna like, I don't know, drink this?
Whenever the door's like, I feel like unlocked when it shouldn't be, I feel like you always like walk in,
Yep.
and then there's like a ghost. So another gal, we'll call her M. Oh, different M though. M2. She was at the mall nearby called Valley Fair around like Forever 21 waiting for her dad. Like a man and a woman come up to her wearing suits, and they say that they work for a business, but they didn't specify what the business was, and they kept asking her for her information, and so she like panicked, and because like it's hard to say no, she gave them her number, and then a few days later they call her and they ask her to come to an interview at the San Francisco airport. They're hosting a gala and they want to invite her, so she's like, oh, like the airport, because it's strange and not a place you have interviews. And then a few days later she saw a post online saying that 2 people were trafficking girls in Valley Fair, the same mall, and the 2 people, the suspect, matched the description of the 2 people who approached her. So she could have gotten kidnapped if she went to the airport. That's so scary. Said she was about 10-ish and lived in San Francisco. So she was waiting in the car for her dad to get groceries and fell asleep, and she woke up to a guy trying to break the glass into her car. So she opens the door suddenly and just runs out like and away from the guy trying to break in. So yikes, San Francisco like has a lot of characters.
Increasing in spookiness. So I have a friend who goes to BU. We'll call her by E. So she lives in an area off campus, and she was like heading back from Kilachan, which is like our honors college, and like the fastest way to do that is across a bridge, like the Beacon Bridge. It's not like super far, but it's like a decent walk. It was like around like 12 or 1. When you're across the Beacon Bridge, there's like this little place by Mars Church, and it's like dark and shady. There's like a little bit of like kind of an alcove there. So she's walking with her headphones in with music playing. She sees a guy like sitting in this little alcove, and she thinks like whatever, it's probably a drunk guy or someone who's like homeless. She passes by, and then he looks up. She's like, oh shit. So she takes out her earbuds. She's like getting closer to him. She like starts walking faster because she's like, oh no. She's trying to like keep an eye on him, but she's also like trying not to like make it super obvious because she doesn't want to get this guy like angrier if he's like, why are you looking at me? As she like walks by him, he like gets up and starts like moving towards her. So she like freaks out obviously and starts like jogging, and as she starts running, he starts running after her too, and he chases her down the bridge. And there are no cars, which is like weird because this is normally like a very busy intersection, but also I guess it's like too late for there to be bridges. She runs all the way back to her apartment, and like as soon as she like crosses like the road, he like stops following. But she like had 911 like pulled up on her phone and stuff, and she was like obviously very scared. But yeah, that was the time my friend got chased down Beacon Bridge.
So this one involves two of our pals, H and C. They were 12 years old and they were trick-or-treating. This lady was following the two of them, and she followed them into another one of their friends' houses. The third friend with the house, her name is E. So E's mom assumed that the lady following them was H's mom because they're both Asian. And so when they told her that the lady was just like a random lady, she thought that they were joking, so she still let the lady in. But then E's dog scared the lady out of the house. The lady was just waiting on the other side of the street, so they didn't go outside for a while. So then later, one of the moms said that there was like a mental hospital or something near that area, so the lady could have been from there. And then also a few months later, a patient from that hospital jumped off the overpass. Could have been that same lady, but who knows?
My sexual predator story, like 6th or 7th grade when Ask FM was a thing, which is like, you know, like you get to ask anonymous questions, and everyone was like, oh my god, like people anonymously care about me, even though like every other question was like, you're just asking yourself questions. After, I don't know, a decent amount of time of me having it, somebody started asking me like super in-depth questions where it was basically like a like anonymous conversation. Like they'd ask me like multiple questions about my life, and I'd answer them multiple questions, and then like from what I said, they would like ask me more questions. So it was literally like an anonymous conversation, and they would like talk to me about things like, oh, like where do you ride horses? Like, what horse are you riding? Like, how is your ride today? Like, very in-depth things. Girl. Yeah, literally. And I was like, oh my god, someone cares about the fact that I ride horses? Like, so cool. Let me tell you all about it. What kind of freaks me out now is that they asked to see a picture of me in my graduation dress, my 8th grade graduation dress. So I guess this was after graduation, which now I'm like, damn, I was really stupid for a 13-year-old. I was dumber than I thought, basically. But I posted a picture of me in my graduation dress, which was like me with my parents holding up a certificate that said my full name. And now I'm like, that exists out there on the internet, and like this creepy man like knows what I look like, knows what me and my parents look like, knows my full name. Yeah, basically this guy had so much information on me, and me being like a gullible 8th grader who was like, wow, like I can't believe someone would pay attention to me. Eventually he's like, why don't we just like take this conversation to a kick, which is also a relic of the day. And his kick like isn't a picture of him. I later looked it up, and it's like a reference to like, I forget which one it is, but it's a reference to a George Orwell novel. So clearly this guy is older if he's making references to George Orwell. And we start talking, it's like very much the same thing where he's like, oh, what did you do today? Like, and like eventually we get to talking about photography, because at that point I was like just starting to get into photography, and I kind of wanted to upgrade my equipment, but being an 8th grader, I had like no money and like no way to make money basically, except for like photography. So I was like, oh, I really want this like lens. It's like a 1.4 50 millimeters, so a slight upgrade from what I had, but I was like, oh, it's $150 and I don't have $150, so like maybe I'll just like wait for Christmas. And he was like, well, I could give you the money if you promise not to tell your parents. In my head I was like, I'll take the money and then figure out what to do after. So I'm like, okay, like yeah, that could work. And he's like, give me a few days to get the money together. So I'm like, okay. And then a few days later he sends me an Amazon code, like a gift card code. So I like test it out to see if it's legit, and by testing it you also like apply to balance. So I was like, oh well, I guess I have $150. And he's like, oh, here you go, like hope you like enjoy this little present. And I'm like, oh, like thank you, but like my parents are gonna be like, where did you get this money from? Like who gave you this? He literally says, I trust you'll find a way to like make them not question it or something. And I'm like, interesting, yeah, like maybe. And at that point I'm like, okay, this is weird. My main reason for telling my parents wasn't like, oh, I think this man is creepy. It was that I don't have the energy to keep up a lie about where I like got $150 from. And I was like, whatever, I'll just tell my parents. So I tell my parents, and like understandably they freak out, and they're like, show me all the messages. I show them all the messages, and my dad is like, takes my phone and like messages this guy like, this is like Angelina's father, like do not contact her again, like this is like your final warning, like we will call the police if you continue to contact her. And he responds and is like, I'm so sorry, Mr. Wang, like I never had any ill intention, we don't go to the same school school or like run in the same circles, so like I will never see her and like I will never contact her again or bother her again. I'm so sorry. So that was it. My parents like sat me down and they were like, we know that like you're young and therefore like when you get any sort of like attention that's like specifically on you, it's very easy to be like, oh my god, like I'm so important and no one has ever seen me in this way. Because they read the messages and they were like, the fact that he's like asking about what brands you like and stuff means that he's probably going to be giving you gifts, and it's going to start with little things, but it's going to build up. The first ones will be like free, like he won't ask for anything, but then he'll start asking for little favors, and because he's already given you so much, it'll be really hard for you to say no, and then like it'll start like snowballing and he'll ask for like more and more things, and it's going to turn sexual. And at that time I was like, no, like this is just like a nice internet friend who like wants to like help my photography business. But like now looking back, I'm like, I genuinely think that like it was like a sexual predator like grooming me to like do something. And I think that if my parents hadn't stepped in, I think I was gullible enough to be like, sure, let me walk to your house after school and do a photo shoot with you, or like something like that, you know? I know I have screenshots of the messages on Dropbox because my parents made me screenshot them and like save them in case like anything ever happened to me. So on Ask FM, he would ask me things like, what do you mean about getting into a team to go to Pali? Isn't high school determined by where you live and the school boundaries? Sorry, this is such a dumb question. Where do you like to shop for clothes, online or in the store? Just curious. Which are your favorite clothing brands? Any thoughts on future careers for you? Veterinarian, physician, architect, civil engineer, journalist, marine biologist, I don't know, talk show host? Just curious. What do you eat for lunch each day? Do you ever buy the school lunch or do you bring your own? High-tech insulated lunch kit or low-tech sandwich in a bag type of stuff? How do you pay for things when like, do you use your own store accounts like Amazon.com? How do you pay? Do you have your own debit card? Use your parents' credit card? I know birthdays aren't just about gifts, but are there any specific things you've been wanting or like? What food restrictions do you have, either because of vegetarianism, allergy, or preference?
Those are your friends' names.
I'm like legitimately scared about how much information this man has on me. It's like wild. I was so global. Thinking about it, it kind of just like freaks me out. Like,
Do you see the one where he asked about the boys that you like in
yeah,
school?
like Ask FM was such a breeding ground for like creepy men to take advantage of young girls who just wanted attention.
You ask if he's like a 7th grader JLS and he just completely avoids the question. I know you're trying to dig up who I am. I also empathize, but I kind of want to be evasive, not in a deceptive way though. What the fuck? Oh my god!
One of the messages he say, wait, did you say nobody asked you to slow dance? That's crazy and unbelievable. All those boys are a bunch of worthless twerps. I bet high school will be really different. What is the most trouble you've ever gotten into? Shoplifting, cheating, arson, refilling a soda? Is it a sex predator? A sexual predator? A child predator? A predator! When I didn't respond for like a day, he said, have I been blocked? If yes, then none of this matters because you'll never see it. I'm so sorry if you got in trouble. It was my fault, not yours. I miss talking to you, but I understand if you don't want to or are unable to. Would your parents be opposed if we only talked about photography things? If talking to you required revealing my identity, I would at least consider it. That really fucking freaks me out. Obviously, this guy is like way older. Reading how he writes, I can't tell if he's like my age currently, like 20 or like older than that, but why the fuck would you want to talk to an 8th grader? Like me now is like, I don't even really want to talk to 8th graders. Like I don't find most of them particularly interesting to talk to. I'd rather talk to someone my own age, like hands down. So the fact that this old man is like,
Yeah, like the one, if you have an artistic side that can't be replicated by technical wizardry, like that's not a 7th grader speaking. I really like your promotion dress. It is very classy. Did you wear your hair down to kind of avoid highlighting the straplessness?
but it's also like interesting because like he says like, be careful, don't tell like too much about like yourself and like stuff like that. And then he goes like, to give myself credit, I wasn't completely dumb. And I was like, obviously there's no such thing as a free lunch. Like if you're giving me this much money, obviously you expect something from it. So I was like, what's the deal? And his answer was, I guess I'm really hoping you'll like Prime. This is like a kind of like camera lens. Some people don't. You were so level-headed and nice. There are no free lunches. Yup. How to explain? I'm really thankful for your amazing comments and thoughts. It has been so great slowly understanding and learning from you. I admire talent. I appreciate connections with special people. So that's how it isn't free. Do you understand what I mean? Ask if puzzling. I was a 13-year-old. Like even now, I don't know who can slowly understand and learn from me. Like no one. And I said, I'd really like to accept your gift, but if I do, there are no strings attached, right? And he says, yay, period. Which should have been my sign that he was a psycho. Yay, period. No strings for my part. Give me till Monday, though. That makes me happy. You seem pretty savvy about privacy, like stripping location info from photos. I'll know you'll be cautious about that in-person stuff, yeah? Have an awesome day. I hope insert name of horse gives you an easier time. And I send this giant-ass paragraph because I'm trying to like cover my ass. And I say like, just to be clear, I won't owe you anything or only do things for you if I know and have proof of who you are and I want to do it. I'm not going to give you the lens back or trade you anything of mine. No pictures, secrets, or whatever else. Sorry for being blunt. I just don't want to get myself into a huge mess though. And he said, oh my. I wanted to compose a more thoughtful reply because I fully endorse you being very careful with strangers. Yeah, so of course no strings, and you don't have to do anything for me. On Ask, I was always a bit worried because it would be easy to impersonate me. But here, that can't happen. I honestly will never ask for an unsavory photo or favors or for, well, anything really, except for what I've been already asking. I love hearing your thoughts on your days, about your thoughts on guys, friends, people, horses, the world, etc. I suppose I do get a kick out of your photography and art. You mentioned secrets. Sharing secrets can be fun, but like with any secrets, there is a danger of blackmail. Friends sometimes have falling outs. Knowledge is power, for good or for hurt. With great power comes great responsibility. If there is one request on my part, I've already stated it. That is to maintain genuine anonymity. Please be discreet, not like check out this lens from my online pal, you know? In other news, do you have to approach horse from her seeing eye side? Does she ever startle?
Also, the fact that you donated to the animal shelter, so you didn't get the lens money in your account. Okay.
Yeah. Once my parents like told me the like extent of like what could have happened to me, like I didn't really want that money anyways. I haven't read these like screenshots in so long, but like I'm glad I kept them because they're like really scary to look at. And now I'm like scared of the internet and I want to like wear a tinfoil hat and like delete all my social media. But here we go, putting more information on the internet so more creepy guys can find us.
Sometimes they're like, even on like Tinder and stuff, if you like talk to someone for a little bit and then just like slowly like not, then you're like, oh, this random person somewhere near me knows all these like random facts about me. Kind of like freaks me out how easy it is to find people, trace things.
It really is, especially like, I don't know, I mean, I like to think that I've like matured and grown up from like a 13-year-old me, but to some extent there's still that need to be like, hey, look at me, I'm special, I'm cool, and I'm deserving of your attention, you know? Like it's in a more subtle way now, but I still think I have that need, and I think that a lot of people have that need, which is why it's like so easy to prey on younger girls, even young women who like may not be feeling the best about themselves, which can like very easily happen due to social media.
Also, yeah, I feel like I still give in to like flattery very easily, or like sometimes I like know in the back of my head I'm like, this is not a smart decision, and I do it anyway because I'm like, oh, you know, I'm young and I'm like carefree and stuff, and then I'm like, well, there are so many girls who are like careful and doing like normal ordinary things and bad things will happen to them, and here I am like meeting people I don't know in like random locations that aren't the safest.
I feel like as I get like older, it's not necessarily like the serial killers that are like hiding in behind dumpsters or whatever that I'm scared of. It's more so like the people that you don't expect, because I feel like you kind of expect serial killers and like people to be hiding like outside and stuff, but there is like no way to really protect from people you know doing bad things, which is why, fun fact, stranger danger was like the worst thing that people could have like promoted, because like a third of kidnapping cases are from people that you know, from like acquaintances, parents, family, teachers, like stuff like that. By telling kids to be wary of strangers, you're actually like making them trust people that they know more, even though they like really shouldn't, because like you can get kidnapped by someone that you know.
Isn't it the same statistic for sexual assault too? Like the majority of them are from people you know.
Yeah, or like acquaintance rape. Yeah.
I'll look around. So a friend Kay, who went on that Tinder date with the guy, this is in college, she went to a club in Sacramento for her friend's birthday, and she had plans to meet with her long-distance boyfriend who had driven 6 hours to spend the weekend with her after the club. So while she's there, her mom calls her and asks her where she is. So she says that she's in her dorm. So her mom says that she's outside and asks her to come out to like let her in as like a surprise, because she knew that Kay was stressed that week. And then so because she was not at her dorm, she told her mom that she was actually at the club and not to worry about her, and then she'll see her tomorrow. Because she had planned to meet her boyfriend, her friends took a lift together back to their hotel, and her boyfriend arrived at the club to pick her up and tells her to come out. As she comes out of the club to meet her boyfriend, she sees her mom pull up to the club as well, and her mom says that she can give them as in like her and her friends, a ride to the hotel. And so Kay tells her mom that they're still going to be out for a while, around like 2 a.m. So her mom says that it's fine, then she can wait. And then Kay panics because her friends have already left in the hotel, so it's just like her and her boyfriend. She tells her mom that she'll go back into the club to talk to them, and then she goes into the club and then leaves out the back door to meet her boyfriend. And then as she like leaves, she texts her mom to tell her that they're in a lift now and her phone's about to die, but then she'll text her again tomorrow. Later, she finds out that her mom waited outside until 3 a.m. and actually like went into the club to look for her. When she goes back to her dorm, her mom is waiting for her there. So Kay tells her that she had just gone back with her friends on another floor and they'd spent the night in Sacramento. So her mom makes her take her to her friend's room. Her friends are still sleeping, so it's like obvious that they had just like come back from Sacramento.
They go like down to her room and they like open the door and the friends are like sleeping, and then she like goes in the friend's room and like closes the door on her.
And then like talks to her friend and then comes out and tells Kay that like she knows that she lied to her. So scary stuff.
But like less scary than like, sexual predators.